Hello, welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'm Lotra's community manager, Cordova, and I'll be with you for the next hour or so, hanging out, doing some Q&A. Mostly I'm just going to be in-game, running the anniversary event, and just showing off some gameplay, kicking off the weekend here of our anniversary. Happy 16th anniversary, everyone, in the Lord of the Rings online land. Welcome, thanks for being here, we really appreciate it. We've got a bunch of stuff happening related to the anniversary here. So we also released update 35.1 this week, and that was really our anniversary patch. So the anniversary event is back. It's going to be running until 3 a.m. on March 15th. So through March 14th, shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on March 15th. You can check out our guide on Lotra.com for some more information about that. In addition, we have our login gifts available. That started at 10 a.m. Eastern yesterday, and the end date on that one is pretty long. Let me double check my timing on it. So you're going to be able to log in to pick up your 16th anniversary gift until 3 a.m. Eastern on April 1st of, it's wrong in the website, 2024. Got all the way basically to the start of next April to log in and pick up your 16th anniversary gift. Who gets the 16th anniversary gift? It'll be everyone who got the 15th anniversary gift last year. It was starting, I guess, about the 9th anniversary. It went from year of account to last login. So it grants it based on the previous thing that was granted. So it's been like that since year 9, as I understand it. Year 8 or 9, I think, something like that. And so yeah, that's going on. The other big bit of news here is in the release notes for update 35.1, we mentioned that Gwathrenast, the Witch King's Citadel, the new raid, will be arriving on April 26th. We're changing that. As people have seen on Bull Roar during the most recent preview, the raid just needs a little bit of work yet. And so what we're intending to do is have a preview of the raid, most likely next week, and then release it. We'll see. Don't have an exact release date to give you today. One possibility might be something like the week after. That would be around May 3rd, which was currently when the T3 version of the raid was set to come out. So we might basically bump it an extra week and give us time to give a preview on a final, more polished version of the raid. And then we're still talking this morning as to where all the tier unlocks are going to fall, but they'll probably just get shifted out slightly, and that's how it'll work. So that's the latest on the raid. We are going to give it another preview on Bull Roar here before it goes live. At least that's the intention today. And it's not going to be coming out on April 26th. It'll most likely be pushed out a week or so. We'll see. We'll see where we end up on that. But that's what's going on this morning, really, here in Lotra Land. We're working on a patch for next week, really to address some of the bugs that came up here with this most recent patch and fix up a couple of different things. We're fixing an issue with classes where Find Footing and Slip Free is not usable when you're stunned, dazed, or knocked down like it should be. It will become again usable here with the patch next week, most likely next Wednesday. We're also going to be adding the Mighty Ram fireworks to the anniversary barters in both consumable and permanent versions. Legendary bows will drop all versions of Beorning, Champion, and Guardian classes in Segroth and Gwathrenast. Let's see. Oh, we're renaming for the anniversary items. The Fireworks Wall Rack is being renamed to Fireworks Rack and will now work on all wall hooks and outdoor hooks. Sorry I can't show you the release notes right now. They're still in progress. But this is what's currently being worked on for next week. We have a couple of fixes for missions, specifically Karanost Courtyard, Stirring of Spirits, and Ruins of Gavarad. We're going to be fixing a bunch of animations as well. Human male horse riding animations are going to get a fix. Those are not working right now. Color pickers are going to support clicking and dragging. That was actually a feature that we wanted to do here for this Wednesday, but it didn't quite make it in. But that will be coming in the next patch, so you'll be able to pick a color, really click it, and then drag it. And you'll see what that means here when you take a look at it. We're fixing on like some dance animations on the avatar. And one thing we are going to be doing, just in response to general community feedback here, is for beards and stubble on female human characters are, for the purposes of like randomized looks, are now going to default to locked on option 1, which is no beard or stubble. So they're not included in randomized appearances by default. If you want to do that, of course, and hit the randomization, just like with any feature on the avatar list, you can lock, well, that supports it, you can lock and unlock that specific area and then hit randomize, and everything except that section will work. I know that I myself, that's how I tend to create my characters these days, is I'll actually start with a randomized look where it's like, yeah, that's maybe 20% there. I'll lock a few bits that I was like, I want that hairstyle and those eyes, and then I'll keep it in randomization until I kind of piece together police artist style for the old Apple IIe, if you remember that. The character I want to make. Did I just throw in an off-the-cuff Apple IIe game joke? Yes, I did. So that's what we've got going on, really, in terms of next week's patch. That's just what I have right now. I know there's a bunch of other animation and bug fixes that we'll be working on here, and perhaps some of that stuff will come up in questions here today. So I think that's most of the main news here. If you haven't seen it, the Update 35.1 release notes are available on Lotro.com. You can figure out what's inside of the gift boxes and such. You can see the class item changes, and I'm not going to go over the notes. You've had plenty of time to look at them, and it seems like a waste of time to do that here. All right. Did I say March? I meant May. May 15th. The anniversary event runs until 3 a.m. Eastern on May 15th, so through May 14th. So, I guess, I don't have the tweet in front of me, Schmooze, but someone is basically saying, well, how does this stuff get through? All I can say is we do our best. Yeah, we do work hard. QA put in a ton of hours on update 35.1, but you're going to run into a few animation bugs that we knew were in place, and we are working to fix them here next week. I saw something on Twitter, though, where I think it was through a reply to a fairly well-known game dev. Let me see if I don't want to try to look it up right now. But they were saying that if you think about it, MMO style game like this, you will see more player hours in the first, say, hour of an update going live than you could generally ever have with a QA team working on a release. And there is some truth to that. That's why it's so important that the work be done in a very documented and, formal way, so that you can keep track on all this and it doesn't descend into pure chaos. But if you figure, all of a sudden you got 10,000 players playing for an hour, that's 10,000 hours in the first hour that you're going to have just general experiences with the game in a way that I don't think it's necessarily equivalent that it would take, 10,000 hours to do what the equivalent of that is. But it goes to the point that things get exposed in a way when it's live that it can be very difficult sometimes to track internally. And we did have a lot of work. And some of this animation work, that's why it was in the known issues to begin with, is that some of the animations are not functioning correctly. And we did know that coming in for Wednesday, but we also know that we got fixes in place for most of that stuff. So Juan Fenor brings up a question about sliders resetting to the middle position when you open the barber panel. I am not personally aware of that one, but I will kick that to QA after the show. Speaking of making them do work. Yes. Well, I don't have it in my release notes yet, Al J. Bookworm, but it is my understanding that, yes, next week's patch should include a fix for some kind of fingerless gloves bug. It's like a flesh-colored thing. In general, there's a whole subset of items and item types that are not showing their correct textures. And that's a bug that we're working to track down and resolve here in the very near future as well. That I don't know the nature of what's causing it, but I've seen it like a lot with pauldrons, kind of shoulder pads. There was someone in the forums who had a leggings issue that was doing it, and it's the same thing that's causing the kind of fingerless gloves to look sort of flesh-colored and weird. And that is that it's improperly applying a texture it should not be applying. Uh, Apu Kij or something like that. Any live streams from you on the servers? Yeah, I don't know when it's going to be. I think it's going to be next week. We'll see. Monday might work, and that is the formal anniversary there. So I think if I can do Monday, I'm going to. I happen to know that, I may have that evening free. So I do intend to do a live stream on the Worlds, but also I've been called to jury duty on the 25th. At my local municipal court, so I have to do that. And this weekend is already booked. I don't have any time. I'm sorry. This week has been too busy. But I am going to... My intention is to do something next week, potentially on Monday. One of the things is if I do want to visit all the game worlds and do it live on the air, I don't have to do it live on the air, by the way, but people tend to like it when I live stream it. If I do like 20 minutes a server, that's a very long live stream because there's a lot of servers and there's a little bit of transition time and breaks and things like that. So it ends up being like a 4 to 6 hour chunk of time just to do a minimum of like 20 minutes per server, which can be a lot. But it is fun to see and do and take part in. So I'll do something this next week here about that, but I don't think it's going to be this weekend because I just don't have time, and we'll see. So, all right. Will the new horse riding animation be reworked or stay the same? Depends what you mean, Shroomic. So we already know that there's horse riding animation bugs with humans. And if that's what you're talking about, that's going to be getting fixed. But that was not a new riding animation. That was just a bug. So, Sam, I used to do that. I used to be like, no, I'm going down the whole list and I'm checking every individual option and then I'm going to figure out what I want to do there. I found it's actually faster if I just hit randomize. And it occasionally gives me things that I wouldn't have expected. That way I don't always fall into the same rut of picking the same things in all characters. Although I still do that somewhat. I like my randomize method. It works quite well. I would have to kick your question to the team Nizumet to see what they wanted to talk about. You are suggesting to make the Purge Poison skill on Hunter an immediate skill and remove any kind of animation delay as a result. I can't speak to the wisdom of doing that or anything like that, but it's something I can kick to the team. My guess would be that the cooldown may be there for a reason. But I can ask. Can I head to the EU servers as early as possible if it's on Monday? You have to work the next day. Yeah, well, I got to get up and go to the courthouse to be a potential juror, maybe. So I, too, can't make it too late. I know what you're saying. I have to work on Monday. I mean, I do have to actually work on Monday, too. Get these release notes and do a whole bunch of other things ready for for the next week. So it's not like I can just sort of hang out all day on the live stream instead of work. But yeah, I have historically tried to do that. Although, like I say, even at 20 minutes per, it takes a while to get through the EU servers. So I'll do my best. I'll do my best. I don't know that I'm going to get much time to announce my anniversary live stream. Let's call it a floating announcement, which is I do intend to do one. It's going to be on Locher Stream, and it's going to be probably something like 4 to 6 hours, and it'll probably be Monday unless something comes up where I can't do it, and I just have to roll with that. So, it'll be happening. I just don't know when. If I can announce it ahead of time, I will. But if I may also have a choice of like, well, okay, everything fell into place, so I've now got the next 4 hours free. Maybe I'm just going to roll with it and do it. So we'll see. I don't know about the malevolescence question. Sorry. You meant doing the skill with no induction time and removing the animation. Thank you in advance. I will add that to the feedback there. I mean, in some ways, for me, I have to admit, for me, some of these anniversary streams from going to the game worlds, they get, I don't want to say boring, but I don't understand why anyone would want to watch it. I wouldn't really want to watch me hanging around for like 4 hours. Spawning stuff and doing things, but it's fun for other people, and so that's cool. That's good enough, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily super fun for me. I mean, I enjoy it, but it gets kind of rough, trying to go through all the worlds and make sure everyone feels like I was able to get them their stuff and all that sort of thing. I'm also working though. One of the things I'll be doing in the next week or so is I'm going to be rolling out a new uh, social media giveaway of the spotted corgi pet, which was added to the tables last year and is now making its formal debut this year for the anniversary. And I've got one more thing too that I don't think I've got the name of right now that I'll be adding to. Let's see. See if I can find this real quick. Let's see if I can spell cloak correctly. I have to re-get the name of it. There's another item being added to the community loot list, and it's a recolored cloak. Sort of reskin cloak of an old one. Let me see if I wanted to find it. Where did I put it now? Yes. Okay. Ceremonial Cloak of the Misty Night. It is called the Ceremonial Cloak of the Misty Night. It is a differently dyed version of the old Cloak of Durin's Crown. And this is something that I'll be able to add to the community loot list for Extra Life this year, in addition to do a few giveaways of it in the coming weeks and probably a couple of months. I'm going to do a few more of these kind of corgi pet giveaways where you'll just sort of enter social media giveaway platform and I'll distribute them. And then I'll be dropping them most likely in these visits and things like that. And they'll be added to the community loot list and given out for Extra Life in particular and such this year as well. So that's something to look forward to. Should be pretty cool. So. And I'll even show it off on stream here in a little bit once I get the proper commands and things. So. Okay. I'm just checking a few things. All right. Yeah, I mean, in many ways, like when I saw the cloak for the first time after it was remade, I was like, oh, I've seen that one, But I know, so it's not like the most exciting thing in the world, but there are people who are going to be, I think, quite excited to see this added to the community loot list because it is an opportunity to acquire it in a way that was not previously.
Stay a moment. Will you give me a moment of your time, friend?
So, I'm going to go try to pick up some of these letters, and this can be a little tricky. One of the things I figured out that kind of works a little bit is to try to hit it from the side if you can. But even so, it tends to move around a lot. The other thing you can do is just look for the static ones, which is really what I should be doing. But I thought I would. There we go. Oh, actually, I don't know if that worked. Instead, you can actually just go for the static ones instead. And that's probably the smarter solution for picking up the letters related to this quest. I tend to find, unless someone else has nabbed them already, that you can, up here by the Prancing Pony is a pretty good place to look. Because you got one there. There's potentially one over here. Oh, I don't see it right now. Yep, here we go. There's one that you can get down here sometimes that'll spawn as well. It's kind of up over here. I'll probably, it's nighttime. I should really run the fireworks event. Maybe I will do that instead. That could be one over here. Excuse me. Is the flying mount not happening due to lore, or is it, quote, the system stuff? Like, have we looked into it at some point and it's just not there, or is it a choice? I think it's a mix of both. I think there is reluctance on our part to want to add flying mounts to Lotro. I think... So, the most obvious idea might be, well, have the Eagles or something like that. But, they aren't really mounts. It really wouldn't be okay, I don't think, to have everyone running around with a bunch of Eagles. Could we do some kind of flying mount in the future? I wouldn't want to tie our hands and say never. But I think that, like the player base has expressed too, it would be a little trickier to do in a way that we felt perhaps really good about. But if we found a way that we could do it that we felt pretty good about, I wouldn't say no or never or something like that. I mean, maybe, right? We could. If it felt right and it was the right kind of thing and people wanted it, you could. So I don't really want to, say, no, we will never, ever do flying mounts. But at the same time, it is certainly possible that we will never do flying mounts. We'll see. We might. I mean, it all depends on how cool it would be and what it would be. So, it's just sort of how it rolls.
What do you need?
Make sure I'm good. Yeah, there we go. So I have to admit, I was looking at, I was like, well, let me see how my human characters have changed over time here with the new Avatar update. And then I realized I don't really make human characters. Nothing personal. I have tended toward hobbits and dwarves, I think, most prominently, and I also have a couple of elves. I have not made a lot of human characters, so as much as I appreciate all the Avatar work, I myself have not been playing humans, and so it hasn't really, uh, it's something I've been spending a lot of time working on this week. But
What can I do for you? Might I take a moment of your time?
why, yes, this is a really good one to get your activities done. I like the horse
How do
races
you
too.
do? Might I speak with you a moment?
Greetings.
So no, to the question with the new character sliders, have I had inspiration of a character I'd like to make? No, not really, not really. But I really appreciate the wider variety of options that we have available now. Yeah, I mean, I do think in general there would certainly be technical issues that would have to be overcome with a flying mount as well. I think, once you eliminate the horizontal plane from, a lot of consideration, then all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of other things that you need to start thinking about. And so especially on the other game, not so much Lotra, but because Lotra has wide cliffs and mountains, but especially on the other game, we tend to find, actually, I'm going to the inn here, right? If you had verticality like that, it would be a huge problem because it would break like most quests and a lot of instances and things like that. And I think that could well be the case in Lotra as well. But I think from a technical landscape perspective, you could probably figure out some way to do it. Although you would definitely need to have some restriction as to kind of how high you could fly and what have you. But that's fine. You could figure that out. But you would need to. And so I think there's a whole bunch of technical considerations that would be a part of any discussion there. Maybe to the point of it being non-feasible.
A lovely day, isn't it?
So I have found, in terms of chasing after the letters, well, one, I just largely try not to. But I have found that if you can do it, if you know it's going to be going in a straight line, if you run ahead a little bit and try to get it on the side, you do have the time between when it gets through there to there in a way that you don't necessarily get if you're chasing it afterwards and it's moving forward beyond you. So I've tended to find that kind of sideways approach, when I can do it, also works quite well.
A lovely day, isn't it? Stay and have some tea. How do you do?
I think I want to go to Westbury, right? And yes, I think, Veilstress brings up a good question. Actually, this isn't swift travel. Let me stop this and get back to where I want to go. I think I just want to swift travel to Mickle Delving, right? That's where I want to go. Yeah, you could... I think a good question would be, well, if we were to do some kind of you are riding on eagles, perhaps, sort of thing, then I think what we would want to do is make it in an instant space where you would have a lot of control over it. So I think that that might be totally a valid option. Although I still think it would be a huge amount of work. Travel catapults. Now, see, I'm in favor of travel catapults. I just want to say this for the record that, I recognize that maybe it's anything but an appropriate way to travel in the Lord of the Rings Online. That said, I would sign up for travel by catapult through our game world. This is my kind of fun. Although, I think that would be offensive to a lot of other people, so I don't actually want to do it. But, yes, I think it's a great idea. I love this idea. It's true, we do have the one jetpack on admins, and that kind of counts. But you could perhaps do it either in a dream sequence, or you could do it in some sort of, flashback where they were riding eagles, perhaps. Some kind of session play, maybe, or something like that, So I don't want to say that it could never be done, or that we would never do it, or that, allowing characters to fly in some setting, can never be done. I don't think that kind of restriction really makes any sense. But, I went the wrong way, didn't I? I am not in Freren's Court. That's the ill hall. There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know where I want to go, don't I? I think. Dude's actually outside here. Alright. We're still on track to get the new forums going.
Might you lend me an
Here we go.
ear?
Now I'm going to Thorin's Hall Inn. Alright. And that'll be my 7. That worked out pretty good. What was I saying? I was saying the forums. Forums are looking good. I think I mentioned this last week, but we are going to be going with a darker styling on the forums. So what you saw in the preview is going to be a little bit different. That's really due to both internal and external response on that one. We were both like, yeah, we want it too. So...
Come and stay a moment, friend.
Remind me, where's my... Here we go. All right. Yeah, I like this beer brawl. I think it's pretty fun. It's pretty easy to do, too. So yeah, I think the next bit we're going to be working on for the forums is setting up our internal accounts and getting all of our dev accounts up and running. I have been listening to the feedback from the forums as it relates to a couple of sub-forums. We had a request really to switch out instance discussion and landscape discussion and add some other kind of general gameplay discussion. So I think we'll be doing that. I am adding the roleplay forums, and I had a request to have a section where people could talk about specifically art and music. So it would be sort of a art and music of Lotro, lore as well. And they wanted a specific discussion space for that. And that's fine. We can give that a shot. I actually am not a fan of our super long forum crawl. I prefer a more restrictive set of forums that get more activity. But people like their categorization, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I recognize that I'm not the be-all, end-all on all opinions. So I'm happy to keep our long forum crawl. And so we're going to be adding to it, actually, rather than getting it away, which is, you know, a little bit of a bummer for me, but I can live. And it really has to do with being able to use the forums properly as a long-term kind of place to find information. I recognize that having long forum lists is much better when you're... I need one more. There we go. There we go.
I am at your service. Greetings. Will you stay and speak with me a moment?
Okay. So, I am heading up. So some people found the forums already, which was fine. But I have to, because we need to do some final end-to-end account management testing and things, we need to make sure the forums are not really viewable by the general public at the moment. And that's because we need to set up the final bit, which is hooking your game account successfully to it and being able to end-to-end test, that sort of thing. So the forums, even if I were to give you a new URL, it would it should hopefully be inaccessible, but because we don't actually want people to be there right now, I'm not going to give it to you. You can find it. It's there. But we need to do that final work yet, so. However, fingers crossed, as of yesterday, we should be set to do that final bit of making sure game accounts are linking correctly to it and able to pick their forum names. And then we're going to register up all of our SSG dev accounts, make sure they all have proper permissions. We're, you know, on the Lotro side, the Palantir forums are gated by whether or not you're a member of Palantir or a developer, you know. Few bits like that, and that's really the final check, and then we're going to schedule the work, and it should be roughly around May 3rd, I think. That'll be the big day. So
Hello there.
yay. All right. You know, someone had mentioned I should really be doing this differently, and I think they're probably right. But old habits die hard. So I don't have any in-game shenanigans planned today, and the reason for that is I have a lot of work I have to do today, and I have stuff going on tonight and Saturday, so I can't just can't blow off the rest of the day and hang out with everyone. So I got stuff I gotta do. Yeah, it's through the homesteads. That's what I really should be doing. I suppose I could do that. We pop to the homesteads and then you just go to Hobbiton from there. So. But if you're a noob like me, and or it's just burned into your brain to do it this way, this will get you there too. Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. It really has, and it's not letting up soon. I got a lot going on in my my life, so there'll probably be some. Well, I don't know. I mean, they keep saying it's only going to take a couple of days, but I'm getting an entire new roof put on my house because I have to, because my existing roof is in poor enough condition that everyone who's seen it has been like, "Oh my God, you need to get this done," which is always great to hear. And so I am actually, in fact, getting that work done. But that means for at least a couple of days here, I'm going to have a roofing company come out, tear the entire roof off of my house. They have to put up a whole bunch of the... To me, they look like plywood sheets, but I guess they don't call them plywood sheets. And other bits, and completely redo the roof on my house. Which has not been done for who knows how long. Long time. My house was originally built in 1880, which I suppose for Europeans are going to be like, oh, so new then. But for us Americans, an 1880 house is a pretty old house, and I got one. The roof is not that old. I would guess it's 80s, 90s, something like that. But still. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, the thing about, I had big goals and dreams when I bought this house. I was like, oh, it takes, 6 months to a year, and then all of a sudden everything's going to be great. No. No. It's been almost 10 years now, and I'm no closer to renovating this house than I was maybe... I mean, I've done some things. I've done this much. I have this much yet to do. But I had recently had to get a roof replaced on a education building of a church, not too far from where I live. I do some volunteer work for a church locally, and as part of that, I had to be on site when they were going through the roofing process there, which is part of how I uncovered that my own roof needed to be done pretty big time. And anyway, the point of it is their roof hadn't been repaired since it was initially installed in 1958. And yes, the roof needed to be replaced, but it actually was at the point where it needed to be replaced, not, you know, it needed to be replaced 20 years ago. It actually survived all the way from 1958 until today, just relatively fine, until it started leaking over the summer last summer. Which I thought was kind of amazing. It was a flat roof, by the way. It wasn't a regular roof. Maybe that's why. Oh, shoot. I actually totally need new siding on my house as well. That's the other bit that really needs to be done. But unfortunately, I can't afford it because I've got to get a roof done instead. But the other thing is, one of the things if you own an old house, my house's shingles are old asbestos tile shingles. And so getting the work done to actually be able to get new siding, they'll basically just have to plaster over the old one rather than take it off. But that's a thing. That is a thing. So, like, they can't just go in and give me new siding. It would be too dangerous for the employees. And against the law. At least in Massachusetts. So that's fun. I had to sign a document when I purchased the house that was like, you know there's lead paint here, right? I mean, I hope you love lead paint. And it was like, well, yeah, it's fine. But it just means that every project in the house is not a project, it's a big project. Of course, I'm from a generation also that are little minifigs, you know, little lead figures, we used to call them, because they were made of lead. I think I'm gonna die here. Oh well. I used to handle lead figures and just paint them, and I was like 8 years old. Yeah. One thing I've learned about having asbestos shingles on my home is that lots of people have asbestos shingles on their home, and they just either don't admit it or don't know it. Pretty much if your shingles were made before 1970, it's almost a guarantee. At least in the United States. Also, a lot of that popcorn ceiling stuff also has it in it. That was alright. I'll take that. I'll take that L. Is there any news when it'll lag less? We've been talking about lag reduction work that we're going through. And I would expect to see more of that in the release notes. We don't really tend to promise. We would rather deliver than promise. So, we'll see. But we have at least a couple of engineers who have been working for both games for really about several years now, specifically targeting lag reduction efforts. And we've been rolling those efforts out, across 2022, 2023. So I would expect to see more work here in the future, but I don't have, I can't make promises, and promises are generally a bad idea when it comes to lag anyway. But we will be continuing to work on it. And I think you'll see some things in relatively near future. They're bouncing between both games, doing lag reduction work, and because in many cases they're the same, and then in some cases they're not. It happens to be that at the moment they, with the next week's update for Dungeons & Dragons side, is going to have a pretty big lag reduction effort that is specific to DDO that can't carry over because LOTRO wasn't built the same way. But the kind of work that they're doing to make those gains is the kind of work that we've been seeing get done on the LOTRO side here over the past year or so, and we're going to continue to see more of in the coming months. We've been, looking at lag reduction solutions across a variety of different channels. And so I would expect to hopefully hear some news, in the coming updates related to it. Someone want to try not die? Maybe not die? Let's try not the not die part. Let's try this not die part. I die. Guy's tough. Wow, that was pretty close. My jury duty is next week. Yeah, I'll see what it's like. Yeah, I agree, Tanless. So, part of it is there's enough anger and such with lag that a lot of people get real sensitive about wanting to get in front of the firing squad, as it were. Oops, how about if I jump? But there we go. But I have been talking with one of our engineers who has done a very good job of explaining their work internally inside of the office, and has some charts and graphs that we would have to obfuscate a whole bunch of information about, because it we just couldn't release that because it would have sensitive data. But we could release the look, right? So like if, let's say you've got a cloud, you know, you can obscure what some of the numbers are and still be able to show the image. And so it's a bit of a longer term project that is on our minds, but it is something that is on our minds that we would like to do here, is perhaps bring someone like that on to talk a little bit about how we've been approaching lag reduction fixes, and kind of give you a sense of the gains that we see, you know, even when it doesn't necessarily translate to a lot of posts saying lag is fixed. Because we know that that's not the case, right? Lag is not fixed. It really never will be. I don't even know if it's possible for us to ever say that we will have lag solved. It seems unlikely. But we could talk a little bit about that work, and you can kind of see how we can measure hitches, and how we can figure out, well, is a hitch from source X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, and then how do you get there, so to speak. I don't know when that's going to happen. It may be months. It's really going to have to just kind of fall together in the mix of a whole bunch of other work. But it is something that I would love to be able to do. And if we can, hopefully we will. Yeah, I mean, the term lag has become so broad, it really has almost nothing to do with client-server latency these days. It's just sort of not really how it... Client-server latency is rarely the cause of lag, even though it is by definition the only cause of lag. It's a slang term these days. Alright, you know what? I think we're going to wrap it up here, because I have got some other things I want to do. So let's just call it, huh? I don't know, Arrow West. It seems unlikely that we will be able to do another trip to Europe this year. I haven't heard of any immediate plans to be able to travel, us personally, to travel to Europe for DevCom or Gamescom. I'd love to see it again someday. It was such a wonderful time last year. It was such an experience, but I haven't heard of anything. If I hear something, I'll let people know, but... Alright, well, let's wrap it up then. Thanks so much for watching Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I would point out we had a casual stroll with Scenario this past week, so if you haven't been able to check that out, Scenario traveled through West Rohan. Reminder, we got the anniversary event happening and a whole bunch more that you can find out about on Lotro.com. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.